Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Knock Up the Perch, where we talk everything about Manchester United. In this episode, we'll be covering the analysis of the disappointing defeat against our bitter rivals, Liverpool. We'll be talking tactics, we'll be talking our style of play, we'll be talking about what needs to be changed, and we'll also discuss going forward what can be the approach.
Welcome everyone. A 0-3 defeat at Old Trafford to Liverpool doesn't sit well. It will never sit well with United fans, and I think this is what is causing a bit of an uproar among the United fan base. This is causing the United fan base to vocally talk about what they believe requires a little bit of change in management, change in squad. But I think all of those views are very reactionary at this stage. I mean, come on, man. We are 3 games into the season. I know the start of the season hasn't been as planned. We should have done better against Brighton, at least gotten a point. We should have probably shown a little bit more fight in the game against Liverpool. I understand why fans are disappointed. I understand where a lot of the fans are coming from. But it's a big club. We need to be cognizant of the fact that it will take time for the entire rebuild, which under Ineos we have initiated, to come through. And we are just at the start of that. I know Ten Hag has had 3 seasons, but I think let's give this squad a little more time, a little more chance is what my initial thoughts are. What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of uproar has been around the fact that Ten Hag has had 3 seasons now and there is no definitive style of play. There is no certain patterns which we can see. But he has had to chop and change the squad multiple times. Last season was very bad when it came to injuries. We never had a definite back four. Seeing the playing 11 against Liverpool also, there were players who were starting their first game for Manchester United. It's not an easy feat, that too against formidable team like Liverpool. And let's be honest here, Liverpool have had the majority spine of players intact. Their patterns of play have been built over years under Klopp, and Arne Slot has inherited a much more stable team than Eric Ten Hag did. And considering the circumstances, we should understand that even though it has been 3 years that Ten Hag has been in, it's only 1 year since Ineos came in and started bringing a wholesale of changes. And, it will take time for these changes to show their effect. So a bit of patience, a bit of understanding, a bit of learning through every game is what we'd expect all the players and all the fans to also go through. It will never be the case that, as soon as a new management comes, that will be title challengers again. That was never going to be the case. Between us getting there and right now, there'll be a lot of pain. There'll be a lot of, and everyone has to be together. Everyone has to stick together. Calling for the manager's head or for a certain player's head is never going to help anyone.
Yeah, no, agree. I think it requires a little bit of a balanced view. That said, this was a disappointing result. Let's get into the little bit of a breakdown of the game. First half, to begin with, I think in the 6th or 7th minute, we almost conceded a goal. Salah was slightly offside in the build-up to that, which is where I think we survived. Then around the 35th minute, we conceded the first goal. Then a few minutes later, we conceded the second goal. And while initially it could see certain positivity with the squad, with how forward some of our fullbacks were getting, I think, but eventually some of those tactics with poor execution of the players led to the downfall. What did you make of the chances we were giving away and the goals we conceded?
See, against a clinical team like Liverpool, we cannot afford to lose shape. It was very well balanced in the first 20 minutes only because we were keeping our shape very well. Minus Mount, we didn't have that much pressing and that much mobility in the midfield that we did have in the first 1.5 games, so to speak. But yeah, all the mistakes were going to be punished in this one, and that's what we saw happen. You were right to point out the first chance that they created. We saw Mazurai and Dalo very ahead on their chances and nobody covering up Trent. Probably backtracking from Rashford would have led to him being covered up, but that did not happen. We did not see that. And as soon as the ball was given away by Casemiro for the 35th minute chance, we saw how fast Liverpool were to react. We saw how cohesive their unit. We saw their movements and obviously a brilliant world-class pass from Salah, who has been world class against us, to be fair. And he saw where the space was, he saw where the open players was when nobody was covering our back post at that given point of time. That led to the first goal.
I think on United's right, Mazraoui was way ahead. Garnacho was nowhere. I think Garnacho was not supposed to be there either. But because we were planning to, I think, build from the left, and Garnacho would probably be available for the switch of play. And it didn't seem like that, with Robertson being way back, so Garnacho wasn't supposed to be tracking back at that point in time. But I think all in all, I'm not too concerned about the tactical setup, so to say. I think I'm more concerned about the execution, and I'm more concerned about the fact that Eric Ten Hag chose to go ahead with this system or this style of play, knowing the personnel that he had with. Probably there is a lot of trust in Casemiro, which in this game he was abysmal in the first half, rightly taken off at the end of the first half. Even for the second goal, some of us could argue it was probably a foul, but it was not given in the game. And he was very easily being dispossessed. Either he was giving the ball away or he was getting dispossessed. When we talk about the second goal, I think Licha Martinez and Onana both should have done better. When Salah gets the ball, I think from Soboslai or Diaz, one of those two, when he gets the ball, they two of them are ahead and Salah is coming with the ball and we have 6 men behind the ball. I mean, in that kind of a situation, we should be defending. Salah finds a beautiful pass to Diaz. Diaz takes a first-time shot and it goes past Onana into the goal. I personally think, apart from Casemiro getting dispossessed, Licha Martinez and Onana were at fault for letting that go through.
So Licha has not been completely up to the mark. We have noticed that in previous games as well. And yeah, this ball could have and should have been stopped by Licha there. Onana hasn't had a very solid start with the season, but he has been decent. This game, however, showed his deficiencies. I strongly feel some of these goals would have been saved by a certain Fiorentina player who's starting there now. But yeah, that's just me being nostalgic. Onana is who we haven't, but yeah, there is some scope of improvement in his positioning as well as shot stopping, wherein his distribution is top notch right now. His shot stopping could get some improvement. I agree with that.
Yeah. And then I think when the second half started, I think it was a Mazraoui injury in the beginning which sort of stopped the play for a little bit. And I had hoped we come out all guns blazing in the second half. We take the attack to Liverpool. But all of that got deflated when Menu got dispossessed. Then again, I think we were 4-on-2 at that point in time. And I knew they are just going to get another one. And Salah being Salah converted. The next couple of minutes, he probably had a chance to make it 4-0, 5-0. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Then Liverpool sort of got down into a more composed manner. They were trying to control the pace of the game a little more. We had a chance here and there. I mean, I also felt Rashford should have been taken off instead of Garnacho at that point in time. Garnacho could have come on left, Ahmad could have come on right. But Rashford did end up creating a couple of chances or maybe half chances. At least one of them should have been buried by Zirkzee, but I don't think it was our day.
Yeah, it is fair to say that none of our players stood up to the occasion. I'd like to take few seconds to talk about how dominant Liverpool were in the midfield of the park. Menu, Bruno and Casemiro all three of them were outclassed by Gavan, who not only broke the attacks but made the next move as well. And Soboslai was also very neat in his passing, wherein he found the wingers as well. But Gavan, we should take a second and applaud the performance because he was very central to their pressing. He was very central for them to break the attacks. Now we do expect all of that from Ugarte. It is a bit sad that Ugarte wasn't available for this game, but I do believe that had the signing taken place 3 or 4 days back, he would have started this game ahead of Casemiro. I say that not because of the qualities, I say that because of the energy we were lacking in the midfield.
No, also, there were rumors that Ugarte was not registered intentionally for this one. I don't know how true they are, but he would have at least made the bench and given the kind of half Casemiro had, he would have probably come on in the second half instead of Collier. But just a word of caution, that we should keep in mind, and the rest of the fans should as well. Ugarte is not going to overnight solve all our midfield problems. The limited understanding I have of his play, and hopefully we will get to see a lot more in the upcoming weeks. But he is more of a attack breaker. I'm not sure how much is his contribution going to be in building the play. I think the out of that responsibility will end up coming to Menu and Bruno. But yeah, I think in defensive positioning, in breaking down attacks, Ugarte could be critical. But yeah, time will tell.
His pass completion rate also has been decent. More than 90 percentile he's been, and medium to short passes. He's not a big Coles type player who will break the passes and ping it to across field. But when it comes to short to medium passes, he's a decent player, and I believe we'll see some of it. But that being said, you're right. It is right to manage expectations out of a player who is just starting life at a new country and a new team.
Yeah.
I think it is a good time, these 2 weeks, for United to try out a couple of more styles. Gary Neville funnily said that, maybe United will stumble onto a style to which Cara mocked them a lot, but I do believe that is going to be the case. We'll have almost all the players. Højlund has started individual training. Ugarte is available now.
But Ugarte is going to be with the Uruguayan squad, so I don't think he will have a lot of time at Carrington. And most of our top players, first 11 players, will be away for international duty. So I will just tone down our expectations a little there as well. I don't think this international break could be utilized a lot for that either.
Fair enough. All right. What about the chances we created, Arosh? Did you think there was some sort of way back into the match? I believe there was a certain point of time when we were 2-0 down, and it could have been 2-1 up by a good Rashford pass to Zirkzee.
I mean, there were a few chances created. We were talking about the XG data as well. I think we had, from an XG standpoint, 1.4 XG, but no goal to show for that. So on a different day with a different confidence level of the squad, we probably might have converted one of those couple of chances which fell to Zirkzee. Even I think Mazraoui had a couple of decent shots. Or for the first one, he got into a decent position, but the shot was poor. The second one, the shot was decent, but right to Alisson. But most of these chances were some of those that were created out of the blue, and it was not like we were dominating a period in play that we can almost sense a goal coming. Had the goal come at those points in time, it would have been something against the flow of things. It wouldn't have changed the game drastically. Probably it would have been a 3-1 sort of a scoreline. But yeah, on the overall balance of things, we didn't deserve to get a comeback in this game either.
And not to dampen the mood of everyone, there were a few key positives which we saw in the game. The primary one being Ahmad. Again, like, soon as he came into the play, he created chances. He was the person with the most number of touches in the box for United, even though he played only 31 minutes. So yeah, bright piece of play from Ahmad. What did you think about him?
Yeah, I think here it was a bit of a statement to say that, I am probably one of the starting wingers in this squad at this point in time. He showed some bit of that. He was doing take-ons. He was not scared to try and get into the box. He was not, unlike Rashford, he was not, taking the ball back to the defensive midfielders and back to Onana. So I saw a lot of intent from him. He got into decent positions. From the edge of the box, he did try a shot as well. But a lot of positivity once he came in, and we almost gave an outlet which was missing, because Garnacho didn't have a great game either. I would have still kept him on instead of Rashford and probably moved him to the left. But yeah, I think Garnacho should start the next one. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be starting the next one. Another positive, and maybe a little bit of a controversial opinion, but De Ligt, I felt, was decent, although we ended up conceding 3 goals, and a centre back would never get a positive rating or a review out of a game like that. But I had positive feelings about how De Ligt was positioning himself, how he was participating in when we were supposed to be building from the back, especially in those initial 20 minutes when our positioning was solid. So I am looking forward to seeing a lot more of De Ligt and Martinez partnership.
No, it is going to be a benching headache for Ten Hag, who to play between De Ligt and Maguire in the next games. De Ligt did show composure a lot of times. He did hold on to his marker a lot of times, and aerially also he was decent. He did come off for Maguire in the last few stages of the game, but I feel the game was over by
But
then.
then, yeah. And also kudos to Collier. I think the fact that coming on in such a big game, he didn't do anything drastically great or good, but the very fact that he was able to come in, offer a bit of an outlet, and didn't make any big mistakes as such in the 45 minutes he was on the field. And we had like two extremely young guns as our pivot. Little bit positive signs for the future, but yeah, I think a lot more needs to be done.
Definitely, definitely. Coming back to what needs to be done, what do you think? What are the changes you envision in the next game? How would you like our attacking shape to be changed or do better?
See, tactically, I don't see a lot of changes coming through from what we are trying to do for the first three games. I see a lot of high press continuing it, and I see our midfielders getting involved in supporting our front four with that high press. But I think what needs to change is a little bit of how we are executing some of this. And I think if some of the players, Casemiro for example, are making some of those mistakes, I think we need to figure out a way. How is it that either we change the player or we change the system? I don't think the system needs to change, at least at this stage. I see a lot of positive intent with the system, but I think the support that we are able to provide to the front four, hopefully with Ugarte coming in, some of that changes. If it continues in this manner and we are so easily turned over in midfield, then I think we'll have to look at the new system. But in the immediate scheme of things, I think we continue in the similar vein. In the attacking setup, I feel Hoyland comes back in as soon as he's fit. Zirkzee is more of that super sub kind of a role for majority of the season. I think he ends up playing. Bruno continues to play in that number 10 role, which we saw him in the Liverpool game. But hopefully, the press, I think Kobe Manu, in the absence of Mount in the front 11, probably Kobe Manu will have the freedom to play a little more forward, participate in that press a little more with Ugarte sitting deep. And hopefully having that trust in Ugarte, that Ugarte will have the pace, will have the recovery speed to be able to break down play if things go wrong. So I think Manu's role in the press up front will become critical as well.
Yeah, I saw this stat wherein they were talking about the top four last years and their GD for the last 57 games. So the GD of most of the top teams, I'm talking about the Cities and Liverpools and Arsenals, is 60 plus, and our GD in the last 57 games is somewhere around +1. So as much as it is a problem of not scoring, it is a problem of conceding too much as well. So a consistent back four or back five is something which I'd like to see. Ten Hag needs to find his consistent back four as soon as possible. He needs to integrate Ugarte into the system. He needs to integrate the new players into the system. And yes, we are asking for patience from the new players. They should get the time. But that being said, results cannot start coming quick enough for United. And that will be the case once we have a set spine in our system. When I say that, I need the two centre backs to be consistent enough to play with each other, who are almost telepathic with each other. We have seen that is not the case in our system anymore. I hope to see Luke Shaw soon. I hope to see Højlund soon. I think the addition of these two players will drastically change our game. We discussed this before in the build-up to the Liverpool game as well, that our left-hand side is looking weak because we knew Salah and Trent were going to have a field day if we weren't perfect. That was to be the case. We saw how Salah got into spaces. I think that will drastically change once we have Luke Shaw back. So yeah, here's hoping that we get fitness into all the players. We get no injuries during the international break. That is a major one. And hope to see a better United when we come to play against Southampton next time.
Yeah. No, you talked about the defense, and I'm not sure about Southampton, but once everybody is fit, on the current evidence that we have, what do you think is our best backline?
I think only Dalo will be replaced by Luke. So I believe Dalo and Mazuroi would alternate at the right back position.
But would you start? Who would you start at right back on the current evidence of form?
I feel Mazuroi has shown
Same here.
instances and good evidence enough for him to start. Like he can avoid pressure. He does choose most of them than not. He does choose the right option, right people in space, and he's very enterprising going forward. Also, we saw really good shots from him in this time. So yeah, Mazuroi, Licha, Delit, and Luke Shaw will be my preferred back. So
Yeah, same here. I just hope we can get consistent game time from Luke Shaw, because that is what has been missing for some time, because he would come back for a few games, then go back injured. It just disrupts the entire back line. And maybe Malaysia also is back, so we don't have to change the style of play with suddenly a right-footed player playing left back. So hopefully some of those things get better. All right then. Thanks everyone for listening in. Please do share it with your friends in case you liked the episode. Do let us know your feedback. How is it that we can improve? And yeah, as always, this is our perch. Let's knock him off. Until next time, stay united.